Hey everybody, and welcome to the GameSpace Game Show!
Yay!
Woo!
Woo-hoo!
We have a very big episode. I wouldn't say it's our biggest episode, but it is our most enormous episode. I don't know what that means to you guys. But I have two excellent co-hosts with me this week, returning co-hosts. Dame is confused as normal. He doesn't know who I'm talking about, but he is one of them. Dame, how are you this week?
I am doing fantastic. How about yourself, Steven?
You know, same old, same old. Awesome, as per usual. And Bowman, I'm looking at you. What are you up to? How are you? Oh,
I'm good. I'm good. Just chilling.
Did you
Doing some reviews?
Did you throw a little Jedi hand our way whenever you were doing that? Because you've got your solo tank top on.
Oh yeah, I know. You guys are just jealous.
I think perhaps he was trying to convince us that he was awesome.
Well,
I shouldn't have to convince you. I am awesome.
You are in your own right, Bowman.
in your own very special way.
I am very special.
Too true. And part of your speciality is that you and Dame have been playing a game this week. Well, two games. Bowman.
Two games.
Two games. But I don't think that you've really you really didn't get a lot of Bless time. I don't think. Did you, Bowman?
I didn't because I had that splash page issue, so I couldn't log in much.
Well, we're gonna get into that in a little bit.
I'm up to level 10.
Well, that's.
I played Dauntless about as much.
Oh, good. So you have 10 levels to say about it, roughly.
Level 1, I fought something. Level 2, I fought something.
Well, we've got a little bit to talk about here, and I wanted to start talking about Dauntless. Now, Dauntless released this week, and it's in open beta. That's correct, Dame?
That is correct. Yep.
Now, I am going to confess that I didn't really get a chance to play Dauntless nearly at all, because originally whenever it launched, it had a bunch of login queue issues. And
Yes.
Maybe you could talk a little bit about that. And while you do, I do have a stream to show of some Dauntless gameplay. Our editor, Bill Murphy, sent me this gameplay so I could kind of get prepped for it and see what Dauntless is all about. So I'm going to show that.
This does technically count as Bill being on the stream, right?
It does. Bill is
All right, awesome.
I mean,
Hey, for the first time.
Pseudo on the stream.
There we go.
the
This is good.
the
He's
character.
a pseudo host.
The character doesn't. I mean, I wouldn't say that it looks a lot like him, but it's basically what I picture in my mind of what Bill looks like most of the time. So why don't you tell us a little bit, Dame, about Dauntless and your experience with it?
Sure. So Dauntless is kind of like a Monster Hunter style game. If you're not familiar with Dauntless at all, where you kind of go with parties into a zone, hunt down a giant beastie, and take them down. I haven't played a lot of Monster Hunter games. I think I played the demo for Monster Hunter World and was less than enthused about it, but I've really, really been enjoying Dauntless. It's very easy to pick up. The difficulty curve though gets very steep very fast. So it is really it's kind of an interesting take on like I said, the Monster Hunter series sort of games where you've got your individual weapon types for that do different types of things and stuff like that. So far the weapons I've been able to that I have unlocked are a hammer, a set of chain blades, sword, and an axe. There is also a pike as well, which I hear is ridiculously overpowered at the moment. But each of them have different play styles and bring kind of a different they each kind of bring a different thing to the table as far as, you know, if you want to be a little bit more tanky, if you want to be a little bit more kind of in and out of combat and stuff like that. But basically the gist of it is that, you know, you're kind of defending this area from these monsters that are kind of pushing in on this sanctuary city. And yeah, you kind of go in, beat monster, get loot, and craft stuff.
And that does sound very Monster Hunter World-ish, because that is basically what you would be normally doing in Monster Hunter World. Now, I'm watching this video, and I don't know a lot about it, about what's going on. It looks like Bill here has been running into, I don't know if they're geothermal nodes or something. There's like little jump pads, and he's jumping around. I really haven't seen a lot about this. So.
Yeah, so there are these like aether vents that there are a couple of different types of vents. Those particular ones help you navigate the territory. There are other vents when you get into some of the combat areas with the monsters, and I think that what we're seeing here, we're coming up on I believe it's a Shrike. Right. That they're coming up on the quote unquote not an owl beast. Yeah, it's kind of like if an owl beast were Ryu from Street Fighter. You know, that's pretty much what you get. But you have these aether. Yeah, you'll see some Hadouken action in here, but you see like there's a vent that was kind of in the middle of the battlefield there. That's kind of a health pool supply for your team in that fight there, where you can kind of recharge and stuff like that. It is a limited thing, so you have to kind of parse out like who gets what when and stuff like that. You'll also notice at the bottom of the screen too that you have a loadout of potions that you can take with you. Every round or every match, I guess, you have 5 health potions that you're given. And so they do obviously what a health potion will do. They give you health. But then you also have other things, that other potions that do different things. Like, some will increase your stamina. The bar that's right below the green health bar is a stamina bar, which is used up as you do special moves. It's used up as you dodge or as you run with your weapons out. And so there's kind of this like resource management system with it as well, where you have to be mindful of those things. So anyway, you have some potions that can kind of help counterbalance some of those things, and you choose the loadout as you're going into each of the rounds. But typically, like each map has one monster that you're fighting, and you do have a time limit on how long you have to fight the monster. So I believe it's a half an hour.
30 minutes, because that's how long it takes the airship to refuel.
Right, and then you'll also see in the upper right hand corner there's a percentage meter, and as that fills, there's like a threat level that raises up as you're playing. Once that threshold hits above, I'm wanting to say it's like 95%. You can no longer resurrect your party members. Ooh. Yeah, so it's either drive the beast off or kill it at that point.
Yeah, well,
kill the beast.
one thing that I've heard a lot about are these chain blades. People are saying they love chain blade. I don't know what a chain blade is.
Have you played God of War?
They're tons of fun.
It sounds like it's chainsaw.
Have you played God of War? The first one specifically.
I have not played God of War, the first one. I have played a little bit of the second one, but not the first one.
So in the first one, he had magical blades attached to his wrist by chains. Okay. That's what it is. You fling your arms around and they go out and they start hitting things.
Yeah, this motion. Yeah, he's doing.
Yeah, I think Bill has the chain blades right here.
He does.
But he's not using them like that.
Well, I saw it looked like he was throwing them at one point. I was
yes.
When you do that little motion there, it can attach the beast and drag you in so that you can hit him quicker.
Okay, cool.
But it does take a lot of stamina to use those.
Interesting. So tell me a little bit about all these queue problems that you guys were having whenever you were first starting out, because one big thing about the launches that happened this week is both of them were rife with early problems. So maybe you can explain a little bit about what happened, and then maybe what state the game is in currently.
Yeah, so real quick, I just want to point out on Twitch, Pope Peaches says you're thinking chain swords from Warhammer 40,000. You know, I wish that they were chain swords from 40K. I mean, being able to swing two of those things around would have been awesome. But you know, there's Inquisitor Martyr is coming out for that. Yeah, so one of the things that was that kind of plagued this game early in the release of the open beta was huge-tastic queues, like in the hundreds of thousands. I have my friend Sarah, who I do roll the level with. She was in the queue for about 6 hours, I believe, and she finally got into the game, and the game crashed on her.
Oh.
So the stability right out of the gate was just awful. You know, they did do some fixing. I'm wanting to say that it took a couple of days for them to get things stabilized and to get the servers to a point where they could handle the load of people that were checking out the game. But you know, they got things handled, and I don't know that I've had a queue since. And I've pretty actively gone back to the game. It's a lot of fun. And this is coming from somebody that really didn't enjoy what I played of Monster Hunter World.
Yeah.
You know, I actually really enjoy this. You know, I think the art style is kind of it's one that I don't think it takes itself too seriously too much.
Yeah.
It's like Fortnite graphics.
It is Fortnite.
Yeah,
that's what I was gonna say. Good call.
Yeah. So I think that it's a game that we're going to be able to see. You know, it's gonna hold up over time. I will be very curious to find out as you get deeper into it how much variety there's going to be within like the monster types and what you can do, and even like as you get into like some of the crafting. One of the things that really sets this apart from a Monster Hunter game is that the crafting is very, very simple in this. You know, whereas Monster Hunter tends to be a little bit iconically grindy to get new pieces of gear.
It really is. Yeah.
The gear acquisition rate in this is, I mean, for me, it's really satisfying. I'm also somebody that really, really likes crafting systems in games too. This one isn't terribly deep. It doesn't really go terribly far. It's usually like pick up a part from the beast, pair it with some cash money and some you know, Arcanite, or you know, some weapon or armor Arcanite, and you're good to go with the thing.
See, Dame, you brought it up. So I have to ask: did you like the crafting system in Star Wars Galaxies?
I actually never played Star Wars Galaxies, so
it got really insane at some points. Like, go kill a crate dragon to get a crate pearl to make this super armor. Like, yeah. Okay.
On that.
So maybe just give me like a quick idea, like what exactly would you say are like the problems still going on in Dauntless? Are there any problems still in Dauntless? Because, you know, there's always ways that you could potentially make a game better or something like that. I mean, I know that they finally fixed the stability issues, but going forward, are they... Are like, what keeps you from playing the game more often? Because I know that it's still an open beta, and I know that it hasn't technically launched yet, right? So, you know, what's really stopping you from playing it more, aside from your own other games that you have to review?
Well, I was gonna say there's that days are never finished. Bill has got me working. You know, I think I think that you know, one of the things that is really a big, and maybe this is just because I'm not used to this game type, but you know, one of the things that's a little frustrating to me is that is that I have no concept when going up against, you know, one of these beasts, you know, how much health the thing has, or, you know, a concept of like, okay, am I hitting it in the right spot? Because you can do parts damage, and you can, you know,
leg.
Sweep the leg, you know, stuff like that. So, I mean, you know, there's not really a clear understanding of, you know, what kind of health pool these things have,
right.
and for some of the creatures too, like it gets really, really punishing. Like if you're not reading the skills, or if you're not reading their abilities right, you know, that can be. That can be a little bit challenging. I mean, that maybe speaks a little bit more to my skill or lack thereof as a player. But there's one particular monster, and I don't remember what it is off the top of my head. It's like a stone elemental, you know, sort of thing, or it has like the stone armor that it kind of, you know, gathers into itself, and boy, I'll tell you what, you know, if you don't read that thing right, you know, it is challenging. It is absolutely challenging.
Yeah. So we are going to show some. We've got a comment asking why we haven't done Bless yet. We're getting to that. We're getting to that. But before we do, so ultimately, Bowman, did you kind of feel the same way about Dauntless? Is this basically? Are you going to come back whenever it launches? Are you waiting for it to launch, or is it something like people should go ahead and buy into Dauntless if they're into this kind of thing? Oh, and do you have to buy into it to get into the open beta? Probably not, right? Like it's
no,
open
beta. I don't think you buy anything.
Yeah.
But, I mean, honestly, the first time I logged in, I waited 30 minutes for the queue, so I wasn't as bad off as some people. I waited a week before I got into it because I forgot that I had codes for it and everything. So, yeah, I waited 30 minutes to get in. I really didn't have any issues with it. There was really no stability issues when I was playing it, and that was like a week or 3 or 4 days ago. So, yeah, I like it. I've played Monster Hunter World. I played on PS4 a little bit. And just like Dame, I think I like this one better, like a whole lot better. It just seems like Monster Hunter World is like so much more frustrating than this.
And apologies, Pope Peaches, for our chat bot aggressively warning you not to link back to our website. But yeah, like if you go over to MMORPG.com, we actually have a special flare that you can sign up for. It's pretty sweet to see that. I was in a pug group the other day, and I saw the MMORPG logo in the air, and I'm going, "Hey, I know where that came from." So that's pretty sweet. So all in all, Steven, you know, I think that it's a great game. It's got some great potential. I really enjoyed. I got a chance to be able to run with Matt a little bit, and had a great time with that. I think that like having a group of people that are working together and able to communicate with each other while you're playing is a game changer for that. You know, it's a 4-man squad that you go in with, and super great. So anyway,
and that's true, because every time I've played, I've gotten stuck with random guys who don't like talk at all. So I'm sitting like, okay, guys, where are you? They like run off, and I'm sitting here like, where'd everybody go?
That was the same thing I ran into in Monster Hunter World too. Everyone already kind of knows the fight or something like that. They just want to go do it, and they don't care what you say or if you're talking to them or whatever. And talking about not caring what anybody says, let's talk about Bless, because there has been
great segue.
Yeah, there has been a lot of controversy about Bless, and we had a show. What was it, like 3 weeks ago, where I was at the press play test, and I got to try out Bless, and it was basically max level Bless is what I got to play, and it is a completely different experience from what we're dealing with here. So I'm gonna go ahead and show some gameplay. That this is just me doing some hunting quests, and we're gonna talk a little bit about what's been going on with Bless and possibly what can be done about it, because there's been a lot of controversy over it. So The first thing is when the game first started, whenever they first launched for the Founders Access, the servers went wild. Basically, you had really long queues, and then stability and performance was just awful. I don't think either of you guys even got into the Founders at all, right? Like,
I did.
You were in the Founders as well?
Yeah, some of us decided to not wait, and we kind of purchased the basic Founders Pack. And,
Yeah, the standard
yeah,
Founders.
so I did get into a queue for about 4 hours one day.
Yeah.
I kind of let it sit in the background while I was watching Twitch, so it really wasn't a big deal doing homework and stuff. So when it came up, I was like, "Yay, I get to play!" And then the servers went down 15 minutes later for updates.
Yeah.
So,
and that has been pretty much constant. I mean, they've been doing several updates a day. They originally planned to only have one server at launch with 2 potential backups. This is for North America. And they ended up with 8 servers now. We have 8 total servers. But the problem with what they did during those first couple Founders days, and the game's only been out for about 5 days, but the first couple days they had to lock certain servers. So you ended up not being able to play with your guild. You couldn't play with your friends, which is already tough enough, because even if you have a server that's not fully at cap and not locked, you still have to wait to get on the correct side that they want to play on, whether you're Hiron or your Union, whichever one you are. If the other side has more people, they lock the faction, and faction locks are just, it's an awful way to play, because you're never sure whether or not you're going to be able to play with the people that you want to play with, or how long you're going to have to wait to get in your own guild, you know?
So that Stephen, is a really, really excellent point that I want to stay here for just a second, because I think this is probably one of my major gripes with the game. Now, what I will say is that one of the things that Bless did prove is that MMOs are not dead, and that people are looking for a good MMO to get into. So, one of the things that really is striking to me, and I don't understand. I don't understand in what boardroom, in what meeting room, people are sitting around saying, "Hey, we're going to create a new MMO, or we're going to bring our MMO to the United States." Awesome. Yes, let's do that. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to lock it. We're going to lock it so that people don't get in to the same faction. Stay with me. As their friends, if they don't join the same day.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. That's never been done before. Let's do that. I'm okay with innovation. Okay, I'm okay with doing things differently, but this was not a good idea. This is really not a good idea, especially in a genre that success is predicated on people playing socially together.
Yeah.
Mr. Smithers, how can we take the money?
Sorry,
right.
Go ahead, Stephen.
No, I mean, you're absolutely right at that. And that is why, I mean, at the beginning, we have 3 different guilds on 3 different servers just so that we could try and play with each other. It's insanity. It's
silly.
Insanity.
It's really, really silly. But they did do an update. I think was it yesterday or no? Yep. I'm sorry, it was Wednesday.
Yeah,
I think it was that they did an update which did temporarily unlock the servers or unlock the faction lock. And it's my understanding that it's locked again now.
Yeah. Well,
I was going to say the other day they unlocked it, but they unlocked it for like one faction, not the other.
No. They didn't unlock the faction lock. The faction lock is still in effect. What they did is they unlocked the servers. So the locking that they ended up doing is that they locked it so no new characters could be created on any of these servers. But then, you have that plus the faction lock to contend with. So even if you can make a character on the server, that doesn't mean that you're going to be able to bypass the faction lock, because if Union side is in abundance, then they're not going to let you roll Union no matter what you do. It's an awful system.
I imagine somebody right now like in a room with like a series of levers, like going, okay, now if I move this one, then it means that this is locked over here, but it also opens up this other thing over here. But if I move this one, everybody gets something, but not enough of anything that anybody really wants. And so I just imagine this like system of levers of like them trying to figure out, okay, how do we fix this thing?
And that is just leaving it on that quote on how do we fix this thing has basically been like the entirety of their launch. It's been, the servers are crashing. We're having issues. How do we fix this thing? Lock the servers. Okay, well, now people are getting in the game and they realize that they're blasting through endgame and there's nothing to do at endgame. Well, how do we fix this thing? And then it turns into, oh, well, it looks like people are just blasting through content and everything seems a little too easy. How do we fix this thing? So they've been acting, they're not ahead of the game. They're acting retroactive.
This sounds like a beta.
Yeah, and it is because this is early access.
Early access, so yeah.
Okay, well, hold on a second though. Hold on a second, because we need to back up because there's an important contextual detail here. A contextual question that I have to ask.
Yeah.
So this is not a new game. Is that correct?
Now,
okay.
So as they asked, how old is this game? Well, it's using DirectX 9 for one. The game has been out. It released in Korea and Russia. It has to be maybe at least 5 or 6 years old, if not older than that. It's been out for a long time in other countries, and now they recently released in Japan, and it had some success there. It hasn't been overly successful, but they made a lot of changes for the North American westernized version, and a lot of people are saying, hey, it's failed in other regions, it's gonna fail here, but will it? I don't know. I mean, I will say one thing, as you were saying, Dame, how do they fix this thing? Well, this is still in early access, and they've been very active at making changes, almost to a fault. Well, actually, exactly to a fault.
And
it's dizzying.
And I heard that Steam was giving refunds.
Oh yeah.
Oh, so I mean, this is also kind of a part of the controversy here too. Like there have been influencers, who've actually created videos on how to get refunded for this. And I'm wanting to say one of them that I saw said that he spent 12 hours in the game and went to Valve about this, and they gave him the refund when policy is that like if you can only get a refund after in under 2 hours of gameplay or something like that.
Right.
So I mean, and that's here's the thing. Like I wrestle with this for a couple of reasons. Thing number one is that like if this game has been around for this long and has had, we've got a comment in Twitch here from Hoser TV that says that's third failed release. Okay, so if this is the third failed release for this title, okay, Neo kind of needs to take a step back and go and start asking some of the questions of, okay, is it just the wrong market? Is it the game itself? Here's the thing. Like my hot take on it is that as an MMO, it's solely unremarkable.
Right.
However, it's not terrible in its gameplay. Like I really like the combo system. I think that's something that's kind of interesting in the MMO space. It reminds me a fair bit of combat in the Elder Scrolls Online, which has seen pretty good success.
Okay.
So, but one of the questions that I want to come back to here, with this is okay. So if these are the issues, it's one thing to make mistakes. It's another thing to learn from your mistakes. And so what I wonder with this is, okay, let's also kind of look at the playing field here too, and recognize that any MMO and any major patch or expansion release for an MMO has, I don't think with exception, been absolutely riddled with issues. whether it's server stability or, you know, some type of glitch in the content or something like that, I typically avoid launch days for expansion packs or major content patches, because I know that the stability of it is not going to be great. You're going to have a lot of people that come back for patches. Hey, I'm one of those. But I think that there's a modicum of both grace and accountability here that the player base really needs to have with NeoWiz. Because on one hand, it's the recognition that, okay, this is a new MMO that's launching in my region. Okay, there are going to be some issues that are going to be a part of this. But in the same point in time, you've had 3 failed launches to get this right.
And I'm going to say that they have somewhat learned a little bit, because they've tried to make a lot of changes to the Western version. Now, I think some of the changes are what's causing problems, because we have people on our forums, you know, we have people in game who we talk to, and they're saying, you know, this game, the new combo system doesn't make sense. The way that the way that they do these certain things with how you have to go through a combo just to use some of your best abilities, and I can understand that playing a mage, because, you know, some of my favorite AoE abilities I can't just use whenever I want. I have to build to them, and it's kind of disjointed. You know, I wrote an article about my first few steps, and a lot of people were not happy with the article because they felt like I wasn't critical enough of the game. But, you know, to be honest, whenever you're talking about like a first experience of any MMO, it really comes down to, hey, you know, how much leeway are you going to give this game to kind of show you what it's about? And you know, I'm just maybe 10 levels, maybe less than 10 levels at this point to max level. I'm taking my time trying to learn everything that I can possibly learn. And then, you know, as I'm leveling, as I'm learning, as I'm doing these things, what NeoWiz is doing is they're hitting these knee-jerk reactions with a big stick. You know, I understand, like, hey, if Bless wasn't the game for you, or you know about these releases, you know, one thing that I always hear on the forums, and I've seen this a lot, is people will say, oh, you know, it had 3 failed releases before. You know, they're releasing in, you know, they're going to release it in you know, North America or whatever, and, you know, we're going to buy into it, and then, you know, they know all this going into it, they still buy the game, and then they're talking about wanting refunds for it. You know, I don't really understand that mindset. I mean, maybe they're just talking, you know, out of their posterior there, but what it makes it sound like is that, you know, people are, you know, they're willing to try something, they're willing to try the game, and I think that that's why NeoWiz is doing the things that they did, like the patch that they rolled out today of the combat changes, which I looked on Steam and a lot of people were applauding the changes, but have you played the changes? My gosh. I mean,
you know, when I see almost all skills damage decrease for every single class, it's like, what?
Yeah. And that's you know, I'm gonna play the video just one last time because I want people to see that. So I'm playing a mage, which is supposed to be like the, you know, I was
gonna say high damage dealer,
one
right?
of the high, yeah, it's like basically mage and berserker. If you know, between the two of them, I mean, you're supposed to drop guys in just a couple hits, but you could see me doing 3, 4, 5 combos, you know, on some of these mobs, and that's mainly because the way that the system is implemented. If you miss something, if you do anything like that, where it, you know, they resist an attack, whatever the case may be, you know, you have to go into this whole extra routine of like another combo, and if any point of that combo fails, you know, some people were saying that they're okay with that, but I'm not okay with it, because, you know, you can't get to those really big, awesome abilities that you may need, you know, in very critical moments. And I mean that not just in PvE, but also in PvP. So I've done some PvP, and I've done very mild PvP since they've done the combat changes, and it's really turned into kind of a snooze fest, because, you know, you're not really able to kill things very quickly, and you kind of know up front, if you're going toe-to-toe with somebody, who's going to win, because it's already kind of gear based and you're not doing as much damage, you have maybe a little bit more health, but I just don't think they balanced it. I think they just hit the whole thing with a bat, and they were just like, you know, hopefully it'll you know.
I hope you like this.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a major question here, because like I think that it's really easy for us to kind of sit back and dump on something, and we've you know, all kind of been a little bit impassioned in, you know, talking about what's wrong with this, but I mean, you look at MMOs like Final Fantasy XIV, that had an abysmal launch.
Oh yeah,
but that are doing very well right now for an MMO. So what are some of the things that in this first week of launch that NeoWiz needs to listen to, they need to learn, and what are some things that they've gotten right in this?
I think that's a really tough thing to answer, because it seems like they're willing to listen to the player base, and we all know from experience that that's not always the best thing to do. Because, you know, a lot of people want things a certain way, and it's right now, I mean, especially with other failed launches in their past, maybe they just don't know what to do, and so they're really just trying to listen to people and see, you know, what they can, you know, what people will say they should do, and just try and give them what they want. Now, I think that the combat system that they have could still use some further tweaks. I think that, you know, if they want to go this route where they're saying, hey, you know, we want to keep damage kind of low. Well, if you want to keep damage kind of low, then you got to make it to where missing and resisting certain attacks is like really, really rare, because you'll see in this video, I mean, I'm missing like every, you know, third or fourth attack that I'm doing on most of these guys. And I just think that, you know, if you want it to be more of an active combat situation, and you want people to be hit and not, you know, fighting with each other and not frustrated over these situations like, oh, I would have beaten that guy on one more hit, but the hit missed and I lost my fight, you know.
Yeah, I didn't realize you were playing the apprentice class.
Yeah, exactly.
The full-blown mage.
So I think that they've done some things right. You know, I'm gonna tell you, like, my review's gonna be hitting next week, my full review. You know, no surprise. You know, my score is not going to be like a stellar. You know, it's not going to be an 8 or 9 or 10. It's not going to be a 7 either. But you know, I'm not going to give it a 2 or a 3. You know, I am enjoying my time in the game. There are some things that they did right. I think that they need to knock it off with some of the crafting, because you know, I like the idea of the crafting. I like the premise of the crafting, but I don't think they make it very accessible. I mean, a lot of the stuff, I chose an enchanter at first, and a lot of the stuff that I need to enchant, I spent a lot of time getting materials for. You know, even just like a scroll, like a taming scroll, it's like I have to have like, what is it, like 9 stone or something like that just to do like one of them. Like I don't think that it's really good, and I know that they had the duping bug going on that was like a really big controversy that some are saying hasn't been fixed yet, some are saying it has. Nobody's really sure what's going on with this duping bug. But supposedly it happens whenever you're putting something on the market. You can duplicate whatever you're putting on the market. I don't know too much about it because I haven't experienced it. I haven't seen it. But
on the Steam news, notice duplication bug issue. We were able to identify the cause of duplication bug while investigating it as our highest priority, taking action to resolve it. So they're looking to resolve it already, but apparently it's been around for the last couple of years too.
Yeah,
so
it's been around on the other versions from what we're understand.
Right. I think highest priority is getting people to actually play your game.
Action will take place on May 31st, and the characters may be temporarily restricted during item gold collect process. So they're trying to do things.
Yeah, they're trying it. And, you know, Hoser TV over here mentioned that if people hit endgame in first week, it's a hard pass for me. And you know what? A lot of people feel the same way. Now, I haven't hit endgame quite yet, so I'm not really sure, you know, what endgame consists of. But from what people are telling me that have hit endgame, the people in game that I've been talking to, they said that really you're just beginning your grind at endgame. So, you know, saying, hey, I'm at endgame, maybe that's really just the beginning. I'm not really sure, but I gotta say, like, the way that it says you progress from endgame from that point does not sound like something that I want to be a part of. So, for example, they're saying that you're going to have to dungeon grind, like, an insane amount just to be able to get, because first you have to get RNG drops, then you have to get particular, you know, drops of certain slots on your gear, and then you have to make sure that you know, you can place things in those slots. You know, this is basically what's going on as moving over from the Japanese and the Korean versions, where those games are all about the grind. And will it work the same way in the West? I don't really know, because we don't have a ton of games. Now, I know, like, Black Desert's done pretty well. They kind of have a similar grind. Aeon was one of those that kind of had like an endgame grind like that. You know, a lot of these Eastern type games did. Certainly, like Lineage and Lineage 2. Lineage 2 was kind of big in the West here for a little bit. Not so much these days, other than the mobile version, but you know, those games are known for their grind. So, you know, saying, hey, are we, you know, if we're going to be spending a lot of time in these endgame dungeons, if we're going to be grinding a lot of the same stuff over and over and over again, you know, I agree with Hoser here. It's going to be a hard pass for a long-term gaming home for me. I'm not going to sit there, you know, and play this game over and over again with the same stuff just so that I can get just a little bit more, you know, stat into whatever it is that I'm statting up, yo. And then, you know, I like the premise of the PvP, but just the way that they're approaching things, the way that they're hitting the game, I don't know where my character is going to be in a week. And then do I really want to put in the time if they decide, you know, 2 weeks from now, hey, with all these stat buffs, you're doing too much damage, we got to hit you with the bat again. I mean, it doesn't sound like they're really doing it for balance. So I think that... Well,
no, and it also doesn't sound like it's going to be a very fun experience either. Like, I mean, when I play a video game, I don't want to be going to work, right? You know, I don't want it to be a job to have to feel like I'm progressing, or to feel like I'm progressing in the game, or to feel like I'm getting something like... Yeah, I realize that you know, MMOs, there's a certain amount of that, like, kind of Skinner box of, you know, you push the button, you get the cheese and stuff like that when it comes to, you know, getting loot. Excuse me. But yeah, I mean, like, if it's that grindy to get to feel like you're getting ahead at all, I mean, and also, like, for it to happen that quickly in a game that's scary. It's really, really scary. And so I don't know whether the solution to that is just more content in general for people to get involved in. You know, because it seems like the world of Bless is huge.
It's very large. And you know what? I will say this too. Like, a lot of people were complaining, like, hey, there's a lot of space where there's, like, nothing to kill in Bless. I haven't really found that. Like, they really, I know that it's a very big area, but it seems like everywhere I've gone so far that everywhere that I've gone that I was supposed to go, I did some mountain climbing at one point, and there was nothing up those mountains. Like you do. Yep. I just wanted to see where I could go. But I haven't run into any situations where I didn't see something to kill, or, you know, there wasn't,
or whatever.
And I mean that in the sense of not just, like, of, you know, PvE wise. Like, I've been in areas where, like, there may not be so much PvE wise, but I saw a lot of the other faction, and it was like, I shouldn't be here, but, you know, it's so
mistakes are made.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I will give him credit that, you know, it seems like it's a fairly fleshed out world. It does seem like it's a little bit outdated. One of the things that is kind of laughable to me is, have you guys, it basically is like, he says, or you're playing EverQuest 1 back in the day when it came out. You know, one of the things about those older games is, like, you know, the premise of, tagging mobs and not being able to share like in mobs for your quests, and since they have hunting quests, it's like if you don't tag that mob immediately, it's like, are we playing a game from
son.
2002 or something? Because like I haven't played a game where you had to tag a mob first in a long time. It's usually like everyone who hits the mob gets something. This one's like, no sir.
Yeah. You get nothing. Exactly. You lose. You're wrong, sir.
They need to open that up like now. Like they need to make that easier, especially if they're talking about like hunting quests where they're not going to allow, you know, if they're not going to you know, up the damage or anything, and they're not going to allow you to help out someone else to you know, to kill things. It's just like,
I was going to say, it just becomes a glorified single player experience.
Yeah, and then Deadhead over here says that that's something that World of Warcraft fixed. Yeah, so that basically. So whenever people complain about WoW clones, I mean, hey, you know what? They did something good.
I was gonna say they're growing. So yeah. I mean, and they've been around for quite some time.
Yeah. Well, they know a thing or two, and so going forward, you know, my review comes out next week, but really, like, the game that I played the first day is not the game that I'm playing now. The game does feel a lot different from then to now. They've added some PvP arenas now. Some RVR stuff going on, and I'm finally in some of the areas where I'm running into other players, and you know, the thing that I've noticed is I'm not getting anything for killing those other players right now. So open world PvP, really, it's just like I've run into situations where like I'll run into another person and we'll both look at each other and just keep on running because there's no incentive to really fight that other person at this point. So you know, you get honor points for killing players, which Tiryu is saying, and so thank you for that. But it seems like you know, it seems like it's just not enough. You know, I don't really get experience for doing anything. You know, whenever I'm leveling, like, it's either like I'm fighting to survive, and if I'm not fighting to survive, then, you know, then basically I'm just gonna take a pass on killing some of these guys. But I am gonna stick it out. I'm gonna play the game for the next week. I'm gonna get to end game. I'm gonna see what's going on. We may do a little revision on, you know, maybe some of these negative outlooks that we've encountered this week, because you never know. I mean, for all we know, next week might be a better game than this week.
It's probably going to be a first-person shooter next week.
Tiryu saying that he already hit 45 on his Zerker, and you know what? You did it last night, and you know what? I dislike you, because if I knew that they were going to that they were gonna nerf damage, I would have rushed to endgame a lot faster than I did now, because now it's like a drag trying to get to 45 for me, because I was mostly leveling through hunting quests and stuff like that, and I can't hunt anymore. I fall asleep every time because it takes forever to kill things. So good on you, Tiryu, but I hate you. So we're kind of getting close to the end of the show, and we've got a couple news stories that I wanted to cover too. Interesting news stories. So we're going to go to our next segment, which is news. And so I want to talk about this game that was on Steam very briefly. It's called it was called Active Shooter. And in this game, you played a murderous gun-toting madman, shooting up schools, police, and more. It's kind of like Grand Theft Auto for the school shooter. And coming out at this time was... I mean, coming out at all is pretty bad, but more so like at the time that it decided to release, it couldn't have been a worse time, I guess. Steam's response to this was that Revived Games, which was the name of the studio, and the publisher, known as Acid, have been banned from Steam, and the game has been taken down. So, you know, I just think that it's crazy, man. What do you think about this game, just altogether? What do you think about what happened altogether?
Sure. For me, when I look at something like this, like I'm not surprised that something like this would show up. No, and I don't say that to be cynical.
Okay.
No, I don't say that to be cynical. I mean, like when you look at the history of just games in general that we've experienced that have just come out at like the most terrible times. I mean, I'm looking all the way back to the mid '90s, the Postal games.
Yeah.
Came out. I don't know if you're familiar with those.
I do remember the Postal games.
Okay. Yeah, just terrible premise of a game.
Yeah.
But somewhere along the line, somebody thought it was a really good idea, whether tongue in cheek or their way of dealing with what was going on in the culture and going, okay, this is this seems like a good idea. This is one of those ideas that like somebody really needed to come alongside of that team and go, not your best option.
Yeah.
Because I mean the reality is that I mean it's a very, very sensitive topic in a in an already heightened culture.
Yeah.
Like there's already enough in the conversation, that's going on that it's like chucking gasoline on a fire. Like it's just not a good idea. Somebody's gonna lose something, and so I know Valve has tried to stay pretty neutral about the content on their platform.
Not in this situation though. So
but I think this was a good idea.
Yeah, to remove it. So I'm just going to read the statement that Valve released on it. They said this developer and publisher is in fact a person calling himself Atta. I'm not going to pronounce that last name. Who had previously been removed last fall when he was operating as Interactive and the Elusive team. Atta is a troll with a history of customer abuse, publishing copyrighted material, and user review manipulation. His subsequent return under new business names was a fact that came to light as we investigated the controversy around his upcoming title. We are not going to do business with people who act like this towards our customers or Valve. So it's actually kind of interesting that they said it the way that they did, because they acknowledged he was a troll. They acknowledged that he has a history of customer abuse and publishing copyrighted material and user review manipulation, and that's really where they stuck in terms of what the problem was. They didn't say anything specifically about, hey, it's because you're playing an active shooter, it's not because of where we are culturally. It just said, hey, this guy's a jerk, and we don't, we're not gonna have him on there anymore.
But I was going to say, and I think that kind of helps them a little bit too, because it helps them kind of stick to their pattern of having a developing platform that's available to all sorts of different types of content. But at the same point in time, also recognizing that, hey, there are some community standards here. We talked about that actually last week in our stream, about, community standards. We have this community standard that we expect our developers to follow. Yeah. If you're going to sell on the platform, that's like any business agreement, right? Where, you imagine, right? You would imagine, it's not just like, okay, it would, I mean, it would kind of be like, a major car manufacturer, that they're subcontracting parts, from another, manufacturer, and the parts manufacturer going, oh, okay, we've got this plan, so we're not actually going to make that part. We're going to do this other thing, and you can put that in your car. So, I mean, so it is good that Valve is taking a look at, okay, what has been the track record of this group, and going that angle. Again, the game itself is in poor taste, but I mean there are also a lot of other things on Steam, the Steam platform, that I would say are pretty poor taste too.
Some stuff on poor taste, some stuff just really weird. We had a thread on MMORPG recently of just weird Steam games, and I always toss this one out, the Shower with Your Dad Simulator. I always have to throw that one out there because it is so wrong in so many ways. and and this week it was on sale for 69 cents. I had to throw that out. But,
I have no words.
Yeah, there are no words. And talking about no words, I want to throw out our next piece of news over here.
Oh, really quick. We have a question from Becky. She's asking, is Bless worth it for $30? Just join the stream and the conversation. So, in its present state, no. Is it worth watching to see how it may improve or where it may grow to? I would say, yeah. I said this earlier in the stream. Right now, it's kind of unremarkable as an MMO. There's really not anything, like, story-wise, there's nothing that's really gripped me about the story. There's just not a lot. There's not a lot that's special about it right now, and it's really buggy. So I would say hold on to your $30 for a little bit and wait and see.
And I'm just gonna dissent from that just a little bit. $30 for this game, I don't think is crazy because it's a buy-to-play game. I think if you're looking for something to play, if you're like, hey, I've played everything, this game will give you a good week or two of gameplay. Now, for me personally, as it stands right now, I'm not going to be playing this game for 6, 7, 8 months. I might not even be playing it until the end of next month. But I will say $30 is not bad for several weeks of gameplay and trying something new. If I would say for you, if you already spend money on new games every month, if you have a budget for these kind of things, if you're not strapped for cash, I would say you could do worse.
That's very true, and I think that's a really, really good perspective because there is also like the conversation to be had in there too, which I think we've had ad nauseum offline of like how long should we expect a game to hold our attention span?
Yeah.
And $30 for a title that has that type of content to it, like the content of an MMO, like even if you're just getting the 1 to 45 experience, I mean, if you get a week of gameplay out of it, I hate to say this and I hate to be this guy, but I mean, how many AAA titles have that amount of content to them? Yeah. And we pay 60, 70 and upwards dollars for them. So from that perspective, then I would say, yeah, totally. And by the way, Becky, thank you so much for the sub here. We're so glad to have you joining us here.
I also, before we move on to the next news thing, I want to throw out what Reinor said over here as well, because I really thought that it was really good. He says that it is appalling that a person would even think of making a game such as this. Honestly, these individuals are the ones that law enforcement need to be watching, as there should be some serious concerns into their mental health. And, I agree with you. We try to stay as far off of political topics as we possibly can, but, that's been a big thing in politics lately about how to handle these kind of things. And, yeah, you're completely right. So we are going to move on to the next thing that I wanted to talk about. And it's actually, I have a video to play with it, and it's the Atari VCS is now on pre-sale. They released a video of it, and I think that it's interesting. So they've added a lot of stuff to this, including Bluetooth.
What's the price? What is the price point on this thing?
Oh man. I did know it, but I don't let's see if I could find out while the video's playing.
So I understand the power of nostalgia, but I also understand the power of nostalgia. It can either make things like we remember things as better than they actually were or worse than they actually were. don't get me wrong. Like there were some fun Atari games. Was a little bit more on the ColecoVision side of that era of gameplay. But yeah, I'm really hard pressed to understand like what the point is.
Well, there are some great games. So I did find out how much it's going to be. It's going to blow your mind. $229, and it comes with a joystick.
Good night.
$229. How does that compare? Do you have the SNES Classic?
The SNES Classic was $79.99.
Okay, so
because I got one of those. I got one of those on release day.
Okay, all right.
So yeah, I don't.
Oh wait, how much
is that price again?
It's $229 plus shipping. You don't even get free shipping to that. But that if you pay $229, you get the console and you get a joystick. Which if you buy the joysticks by themselves, the joystick itself is $29.99, and the modern controller that they've showed in the video, the one that looks kind of like an Xbox controller or whatever, that's $59.99. And shipping's not included on any of this, so you're definitely gonna have to pay for some shipping. The console by itself, the early bird console by itself, without a controller, is $199. That comes with just the console itself, and they said that that's only for the early bird. So whenever this actually ends up releasing, it's going to be $100 more than that. So if
good night.
But
so you got to know that you want this day one.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're out of luck.
You're going to be paying out through the nose. But like they said, it's going to have aside from playing Asteroids in 4K, which who doesn't want to play Asteroids in 4K? Pretty much everyone.
I've never asked myself that question, so I don't know. Do I want to play Asteroids in 4K? Aside
from that, you're going to have a lot of other network stuff going on. Now, they said that, let's see, you'll be able to play all your games. It's a unique open platform where users can access a Linux sandbox to add their own software and customize their system. So it's kind of like its own little Linux box. You might be able to add some... maybe like a Netflix app or something like that eventually. Just don't count on it day one. I don't really know. But,
I think they're reaching. And that's being a little bit generous. Here's the thing. Again, if you are looking for access to some of that stuff and you want to be able to play it on your television, awesome. But there is also there are online archives. I'm trying to remember what there's an archive that you can actually play on the like on a web browser. You can play some of these classic games, and it's part of it's a part of the like kind of it's so they're outside of like the copyright laws and stuff like that. So you can access these games through that. Now of course it's not the same experience as playing them on an actual Atari, but I mean, let's be honest. Do you really need to play E.T. in 2018? I mean, do you want that punishing experience?
Well,
I don't know.
Most people don't even know who E.T. is in 2018. I mean,
this is very true.
Us older folks can, but he's kind of fallen out of popular culture aside from the Atari game known as possibly the worst game in existence. But
and it's a game I think was made in like 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, well, it seems like it. But anyway, so for those of you out there interested and you've got roughly $250 lying around and you just really want to play Asteroids that has a 4K resolution at 60 frames per second and high dynamic range, you could do it. You could.
Now, I'm going to go ahead and say something here that is probably going to be a thing that happens, and it's probably like we're gonna look back at this episode and scratch our heads and go like, why didn't we not think of this? But you know that there are going to be Twitch channels that are going to be dedicated to streaming this console once it comes out.
The sad thing is I'm gonna watch someone play something. I'm gonna watch Pitfall, or I'm gonna watch Centipede or something.
Yeah,
watch Spider-Man.
Yeah. Well, last thing, I'm just gonna hit this news story really quickly because I'm wearing my gear. But Nexon and Marvel released details on a collectible card game called Marvel Battle Lines, and
that is right up your alley.
It is. It's going to be mobile, obviously, and it's going to be strategic collectible cards. I am super excited because I just love Marvel games, but I also know that I am going to probably not not play it the way I want to, because it's going to cost an arm and a leg, because it's Nexon, and it's a mobile game, and it's a card game, so that means that if you don't have thousands of dollars in disposable income, you're not going to be able to get all those lovely heroes and cards that you want.
I would beg to differ. I'm playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links, and that's a card game online that you have to pay for, but
that's so different. I know Duel Links, and you can spend a little bit of money and go pretty far on that one, but these Marvel mobile games are really good with their microtransactions, because in Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links, you're like, hey, this is a card, or this is like a strategy that I want to employ, but in Marvel, you're like, these are characters that I want. I want to be Hulk. I want to be Wolverine. I want these characters. If you're talking about a strategy in Yu-Gi-Oh, you can find perfectly good strategies with crap cards and still play the game and, make a good strategy. But we're talking about, like, do you want to play as Iron Man or not? That's completely different. And you deserve to be cursed at Bowman. That's what I'm trying to say. Because, these games, they make you spend money because they tug on your heartstrings of these beloved characters,
So would you like me to tell you that it's going to go the way of the other game that just got canceled recently?
Which one?
Whichever one that
the one that you cared about
was.
Oh yeah, no. No, please don't tell me that. I'm happy there's a new Marvel game in there, but I'm really waiting for the new Avengers game, the Avengers Project. So
going with Square Enix.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And E3, E3 happens on the 12th. We're gonna. So when is that? Because we're gonna do a big E3 episode.
That's
2 weeks away.
Next week. It's 2 weeks. Yeah, the week I go down to Pittsburgh for graduation.
So we've got next week's show, and then the week after we're gonna probably have some more information on that with our big E3 show.
All of the E3 stuff.
All of the E3 stuff. Okay, well, I'm not going to talk too much more about this game, but Marvel Battle Lines, keep your eyes peeled on GameSpace, and I think that's where we're probably going to be posting a lot of the information. So any new information, it's going to be posting there first. And now it is time for plugs. Last week, Peachy did a little plugs dance, and I think that...
Air plugs?
Yeah, there we go. That's what she was doing. So there's our plugs dance. And Bowman, what do you want to plug this week? What do you got going on?
Well, I just got into the Crew 2 closed beta, so I'm going to be probably streaming that maybe tonight. Probably not, though. Probably tomorrow I'll definitely be streaming it and writing reviews for Sunday for MMORPG. I am 90% of the way done with H1Z1's review for PlayStation 4. Let's see, I still got to get into Tour of the Pantheon, which is a 16-bit RPG on PC, and probably going to start hitting that this weekend as well.
Awesome. Crew 2, is that an MMO? Is it
considered MMO? I mean, I guess there's a lot of
It's a big online thing, right? Yeah,
it's a big online game. Yeah, I played the Crew. Basically, in this one, you can drive cars, boats, planes. You can
Tanks.
Pretty much take whatever you want to, I guess.
Awesome.
I haven't looked into it too much. I just know there's been a lot of hype for it, so I applied for the beta. I got in. So
congratulations.
We'll see how it is, and I'll give you a review.
That's gonna hit Sunday. Dame.
All right, got a got a couple of things that are going to be coming up. I just finished a review, or I'm just finishing up a review for Icy for the Nintendo Switch. Great beat 'em up style game. If you like that kind of like 2D side scroller beat 'em up style.
I do.
It is fantastic for that. Not a very long game, but I really like the combo system. Really fast paced, really fluid. It's got a little bit of some twists and turns as far as some of the story goes and stuff like that. So not its strongest point, but I'll be putting an article out about that, or a review of that this next week up on GameSpace. Also going to be checking out some desktop gear from Enhance. I have their kind of like extended mouse pad / armrest and their mouse bungee / USB hub. So I'm going to actually be writing. I'm actually going to be writing an article on kind of peripherals on a budget. And Enhance has actually put out some really interesting things. I've been using their Theorem mouse for the last couple of months, and it's actually been a pretty fantastic device. So I've got those things going on. I also have my podcast, Roll the Level. You can follow me at Pastor Dame or at Roll the Level. Roll the Level is a running podcast. It's a conversation about life, God, and video games in no particular order. We actually talked this last week about Battlefield 5. And some of the controversy surrounding that and stuff. So great conversation there. We're actually getting ready to launch rollthelevel.com. So we're just working on some of the assets for that. But it will be a repository with all of our live streams, all of our podcasts, all of our blogs and stuff like that. So if that's something that interests you, at any level, please don't hesitate to reach out to me and join us in that conversation.
There are different levels that you can be interested in, and so at any level, even if you're at just like even if you're at the I'm not sure yet level, you're welcome.
Absolutely.
And for this week, I am still working on Bless. And you know what, Tiryu, if you're still out there in the chatting world, why don't you post some information on our Discord? Because, MMORPGs guilds, we're on Discord, and we would love for you guys to come play with us because, what else
you so lonely.
Because it's fun.
Yeah. Well, if you're in Bless and you're just like, hey, I don't know what to do, or I just I want something to play, or I want to play with some people, or I just want to chat it up, or whatever the case may be. If you're in Bless, come play with us because we'd love to have you. So maybe Tiryu, definitely post that information if you can. And apart from that, let's talk about the podcast. Everybody may or may not know that we are. Becky says because it's fun didn't sound real.
Question mark?
Because it's fun. I don't know. I'm going to be there at least for a couple more weeks, and if you guys. Oh, you know what we didn't do? We were supposed to do a giveaway of Bless this week.
What?
I forgot to get the key. You know what?
Epic fail.
So I do have a key for Bless. You know what? We're gonna give it out somehow. You know what? Somebody, if you're interested in it, hop on our Discord and we'll do the giveaway somehow on Discord. We'll find a way to get that key out to somebody who's interested in playing Bless. If you are, and then you can join us.
Well, we need to figure out a way to get the Discord onto Twitch here without our bot striking it down. Hey, there we go.
Yay! Thanks, Tiryu. So, anyway, many of you may not know if you're just joining in, or maybe you've been around and you just haven't checked it out. But this is not only a stream; we're also a podcast. So we have a lot of shows, previous shows. If you join this show saying, "Hey, I am looking for a new MMO. What new MMOs are coming out?" or "I'm looking for a new game," and you want to know more about some upcoming games, check out our past streams. We had a a stream a few weeks ago about Pantheon, which is a game that I've been looking forward to. We have some upcoming streams that we're going to be doing soon, some stuff on Guild Wars 2, some stuff on Elder Scrolls Online, and then some non-MMO-ish games that we're going to try and get some developers in and do some Q&As. So tune in every week if you possibly can, and if you miss it, just check us out on our podcast. We're on TuneIn, we're on iTunes, we're on Stitcher, we're on pretty much everything, and you can find us really easily.
And Steven, when is the podcast?
The podcast.
When does the show start?
So I did want to mention the podcast itself releases every the podcast. If you miss the show, the podcast won't release until the Sunday after the show. So we release our podcast on Sundays, but our streams are every Friday night from 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern. We run usually for about an hour, depending on what's going on. But we are going to have some upcoming episodes where we're going to have extended episodes whenever we have some developers on. And we talked with Brad McQuaid and Chris Perkins from Pantheon last time, and they were like, they wanted to keep going. They were like, we love these questions. We want to keep running. So our next Pantheon stream, we're probably going to be doing an 1.5 to 2 hour episode. So just keep an eye out for that. Join us on GameSpace and MMORPG.com whenever you guys have a chance. And we appreciate everyone for tuning in. You guys have been awesome. We love you all. And from me and Dane and Bowman, I want to say thank you. And we'll see you next week.
Bye. May the force be with you.